Welcome to the Thought Balloons podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Fulsham. With me today is a very good friend of mine, artist, painter, leatherworker, creator galore, and fossil enthusiast, JennCreation. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, you finally get you on the show here. You're one of my first friends from the Twitch universe. I can remember finding that like artists and stuff streamed on Twitch because I found like Jim Lee doing art videos on YouTube. I saw him, and within the same day, Jim rated Tony Moy, and then Tony Moy rated
Oh,
you.
yeah. Oh, I love Tony. Tony is amazing. I've learned so much from him. And this is coming from somebody that has been adamantly doing watercolors since I was 16 years old. That's when I really delved into the watercolors. And I'll be 32 in July. So almost half my life now, I have been doing watercolors a lot. And I started out with a really crappy, well, I guess you can say crappy, but it was like a gift set that I was given for Christmas when I was in my junior year of high school. And I fell in love with watercolor. And ever since then, I've been trying to hone my skill and get better at it. And it wasn't until I started on Twitch that I realized that I didn't know that much about traditional watercolor techniques and different things. I just, when I was working on it and I was playing with it, I didn't go to YouTube. I didn't go and ask people questions. I didn't go to school for it. I just fucked it up until I figured it out. And then when I started to watch Twitch and join Twitch and stream on Twitch, I learned so many amazing techniques. I was able to ask questions that I had never had answers to, other than destroying the products that I was using, the supplies that I was using, until I figured out how it would work. And it's been an amazing experience so far. And Tony taught me a lot of different things, especially something that I learned in high school was to have two paint water containers to rinse your brushes in. So rinse your brush in the first one and then rinse it in the second one, and it'll really get it clean. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember learning that when I was 15. And I'm 31 now, and I was like, oh yeah. But this was also 2 years ago. But Tony is amazing. I was hanging out in his stream the other day, in fact.
So yeah, what's like a I guess we can start like in with the artwork. Was watercolor you said it was the first thing that like really grabbed you as an artist?
No, it wasn't. That was when I was 16. So the first thing that grabbed me as an artist was probably finding the sharpest object possible when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old and carving into furniture. And
All right.
drawing stars and drawing hearts and drawing eyeballs and faces into these were these are pieces of furniture, a vanity. Okay, one that I'll never forget, and I still have it in storage, is a vanity. It was an antique. It was my grandmother's, and I carved stars, a face, and a heart
Oof.
into the side of the vanity when I was 4 years old. And then I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I got a hold of some scissors and I found a sock that did not have a match to it. And I was like, ooh, I can take this and do what I learned in class today. And what I had learned in class that day, which was right around winter time, was to make snowflakes out of folded pieces of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this dark red sock. And I still remember folding it up and cutting it to make a snowflake out of it. And I got in so much trouble. Oh my God, my mom was pissed. But it didn't have a match, you know?
It like legitimately did not have a match.
It didn't. I looked for one. I remember
I was
looking for a match to the sock.
I was just
And
waiting for it to be just like, and I just happened to be wearing it and I didn't realize that I had taken off one of my socks.
And I used to make drawings in the sand, and whenever we would go out to the beach, and the thing is I hated sand.
Ugh.
And I hated getting it on my hands.
Sand.
But the sand here is different from a lot of the sand that you go to specific beaches. Most of the sand that you get is made from coral, so it
Mm-hmm.
falls off your skin whenever you get it on your skin. This sand is from like sediment and silt, so it sticks to everything. There's a photo of me on the beach and I have this grimace on my face and my hands are close to my face and I just look pissed off, and there's sand on my fingers and there's a drawing in the sand behind me. I had to have been like 2 years old, and I just look mad because I was trying to get that sand off of my hands and I kept rubbing my legs and it wasn't doing anything. I was so angry, and I still remember that feeling that I had.
Yeah, I can remember going to like the beach and stuff with my cousins and my uncle who live in North Carolina, and the sand in the southeast is gross.
Yeah, because what they do is they dredge the Charleston Harbor every once in a while because they have to make sure that there's not too much stuff falling in, because it's so loose and it's so fine that it just falls into the harbor. So they have to go through with these big I don't know what they're called, these things that come up and dredge it up back onto the coast. And it creates it makes the water real brown, and it makes the beaches real silty.
Yeah.
And it's super, super fine sand.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of like the beach or anything like that. But I suppose like living next to it or like near enough that you can like do a day trip probably changes your relationship with it. Like living in center of Pennsylvania, you know, like I'm up in the mountains. Like the beach is a scary, too much water. I don't like it. Too much water and not enough trees to hide in.
I don't like sand. It's all coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Hashtag Anakin Skywalker.
So if you so you started out, I think you're the first person on the podcast here that I've interviewed who has started their creation process through I mean, it's technically an act of creation because you're drawing something, but it's also an act of destruction because you're carving things into a piece of furniture. Like,
Mhm.
I think everybody else is like, oh, it was like finger paints or crayons. And like Jen's over here, like, I took a knife when I
I
was
took a
3 and
blade
I
to the just oh yeah. I still have it in storage, the vanity um that I carved stars into.
So what was it like? What was the
Sure.
journey like moving from that and into what I would say is like
Where I am
more
now.
normal for children? Like, did your
So
parents see you carving things into furniture? Be like, hey, how about you use crayons and paper instead?
I remember a couple of Christmases that I had gotten, I don't know if you guys remember Klutz, like with a Klutz, Klutz.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were basically these craft books that would come with a little uh, box of craft supplies
Did they
that you
come with
could
like
play with.
weird magnetic wire people too?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They had all
Yeah.
kinds of different stuff. You could get like the wires, you could get something with friendship bracelets. There was one that was Egyptian hieroglyphics that came with sheet metal and a stamp. That was one that I got. There was one that came with macrame and different things. And when I was 4 years old, I I had surgery, like really hardcore surgery on
Mm.
my ear. I had to have my right eardrum reconstructed because basically, whenever you get an ear infection, it's a small
Mhm.
hole in your eardrum, which is like a circle. My ear infection was the whole thing, it was all
Oof.
gone. The whole eardrum was gone. So they had to go in and they had to cut my ear off and then everything. And they reconstructed it. So it was a big surgery. And my godfather asked me what I wanted from Toys R Us. And I was 4 years old. And I still remember telling him I wanted a bead set. And he came back with these pastel pink and yellow and green like balls that had little sticks on the end of them and they stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted was like the plastic beads and the big giant Lisa Frank set. But I remember playing with them and I was like, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. That's not what I wanted. And he saw my expression even when I was playing with it. And I was so disappointed. I was 4 years old and I didn't
Right.
know how to say that's not what I wanted, but I didn't want to disappoint him. He went back and he brought me all of these Lisa Frank sets of beads, and I started stringing all these necklaces together with beads and everything. And uh, from then, I remember I was 12 years old. I was with my brother at Barnes and Noble, and my brother was really awesome when we were growing up. He was really protective of me. Um, and we were at Barnes and Noble when I was 12, and he asked me, he told me, he's like, you can get one book while we're here. One book. I'll buy you one book. Because he's 6 years older than me. So when I was 12, he was 17. And I picked out a peyote beading book. I
Okay.
still have that book. And so I learned how to do peyote stitch, and that's where I went from there. I ended up getting my first job as a teenager working at a bead shop and teaching uh, classes. By the time I was 18, because I worked there for a year, I was teaching beading at that class. But and oh god, it's all over the place right now. I was in sixth grade, and everybody that had to do any kind of art thing in any class, they wanted me on their team. And
Mm-hmm.
sixth grade going into seventh grade, I went to space camp. And when I say space camp, it's not like NASA space camp. It's a camp that your teacher has to recommend you
Okay.
to be able to join. And it's an art camp. And you cannot miss a single day
What?
when you are accepted. Yeah, you can't miss it. And it's, when I say art camp, it's not what you think. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be being able to draw stuff and learn about art. No, I was stuck for 2 hours in a room with a bunch of preteens making replicas of cathedrals with hot glue guns and styrofoam poster board. And then after that 2 hours, and after having burned my wrist on a hot glue gun, it was doing African bongo.
And this is space camp?
It was called space camp. Yeah.
Oh, because space was like an acronym for something.
It was an acronym for something.
Gotcha.
And it was selective curricular art persons, it was like that. Yeah. But it's so stupid because they were like, you can put this on your college resume. And I'm like, if I put space camp on my college resume, they're gonna think NASA. And it's not. It's a stupid art camp that was done by Ashley River Creative Arts School. And I ended up not going. I went for like 3 weeks and then I was like, nope, no more. This is dumb. Because it wasn't regulated and it was nothing like I expected. I never got to paint. Damn it. I got to hot glue shit and do macrame and do African bongo, which African bongo was pretty cool. And that's why I remember it. But, oh yeah, and there was xylophone.
Xylophone?
Yeah, the little ding, 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 ding.
What is this? Yeah. I'm currently Googling. I'm trying to find any information about this. I think your parents tried to induct you into a cult. I'm just saying. I can't find any information about this.
Hang on. Art camp. So this had to have been about 2000.
Yeah, all this like the space camp, so like even like Googling it like with art and stuff, like it all just comes up as like NASA stuff.
Year 2000.
It's pretty funny though. It's so weird to me that they would call it space camp. It seems like very clear and purposeful misdirection or like false advertising.
The Academy of Television Arts and Sciences? What? No, that's 2020. It says 2020. Hang on. What if you capitalize space? Because
yeah, I did like acronyms and everything. I don't know. I think it's funny. It seems like your parents are just like, yeah, it's space camp or whatever.
Hang on. Put Charleston, South Carolina. Nope. It's all space camp.
So
hang on. Wait. Camp classes and workshops for kids. Kids Museum of Art.
But it sounds like you have even from the beginning been interested in many different like art subjects, at least, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of kids like will get, at least from people that I've like talked to outside the podcast and whatnot, like just kids I went to school with. A lot of people seem to just get like attracted to like one specific area and like will focus on that area. But I know like you on your stream do so much different, like so many different like media and like so many different projects. And it kind of sounds like that's just something that's been
One,
inborn to you, like how you do art from the beginning.
it is endued and imbued into my flesh, and I do all the things. I was fascinated with pottery, and honestly, if I could go back and, or not go back, but do it again, if I could start doing pottery again, I would get back into that. And if I could do lampwork glass again, I would do that again. But I just don't have the setup for it. And
Have you ever like thrown pots? Like you use
yep,
like the potter's wheel and
I
stuff?
have. Yep.
That was
I
something that I never actually did in school.
Leo's water dish that he has on his counter in the bathroom is a piece of pottery that I threw, and it's got,
Cool.
I hang on, I didn't. It's in my chat in my Discord. Let me share with you.
Yeah, I did take a few like 3D art courses and whatnot to get the, like, it's a bachelor's, not a, associates or whatever. And so I had to take a few 3D art courses, but I never had to like use the clay wheels, the potter's wheels. I always just was able to like do clay sculpting with like my hands and stuff,
Yeah.
tools, wire cuts, things like that. The potter's wheels were, in air quotes, big expensive pieces of equipment for older students or like more experienced students. Oh, that's a very nice bowl.
And you can see I put a Mario star inside of it. And this is the bottom. And you can see December 2007. I love olives.
They're little heart olives on there. That's cute. Glad you pointed out that it was the Mario star. I thought you were just like into pentagrams and stuff.
No, it's definitely the Mario star. See the eyes and everything. It's got water in the bowl, so because that's Leo's water bowl. But I even contacted there's a local pottery studio off of here in Charleston, and I contacted them about being able to come in, and unfortunately you have to sign up for their $60 class,
Oof.
their beginner class, to be able to use any of their wheels. I guess it makes sense though, because they have to make sure that you're not going to sit there and just break everything and
Yeah.
all of their equipment. But you have to sign up for their $60 beginner class to be able to. It's $15 an hour to use their wheels. But then again, that was 2 years ago. I don't know if they're still there. And
Interesting. I wonder, is it something, or like, I don't know if you did enough information, but it'd be interesting to find out if it's something where you just take the one class and then you're like, oh, okay, we've certified you, you can come in and like rent time on a wheel, or if it's only like during actual like classes that you've paid
that
for.
was what it was. It was renting time, but you had to take their first beginner class to be able to rent a wheel,
Gotcha.
basically. Which
Well, that makes
I mean,
sense.
it's totally understandable because they want to make sure that you're not just going to sit there and just break the bat or end up pushing the pedal to the limit and not knowing what you're doing. And
gotta push it to the limit.
push it to the limit.
We need, man. Too bad that's not on Epic Sound. I'd just put that like in the background right now. Do a little montage. It's such a good song for montage.
I mean, Rocky did it. Oh God. Okay, we're getting sidetracked.
We are, but that's okay. So you man, I'm gonna ask a really difficult question.
Okay.
What's your favorite medium to work in and why?
I hate you.
Yeah.
It depends on where my mind's at, to be honest. Because sometimes my favorite medium is, and it's really from inspiration from seeing what I'm looking at and where I'm going, because the internet is so vast and you see all these different things. I sometimes my main thing, I want to do seed beating. I want to just do figure studies. I want to do watercolor. And to be honest, I would probably say watercolor. And that's because I have so much freedom with it. And
Yeah.
it makes me, this is going to sound really weird, but it makes me hungry and thirsty.
Mhm.
It literally, like, I get hungry and thirsty as I'm doing watercolor. And I just, it, once I get going, I want to keep going, you know?
Yeah, I get that. No, that makes sense. To me. At least maybe not the physical, like if you're actually physically getting hungry and thirsty doing it, unless that's just literally from like so focused on what you're doing that all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I need to take a break
Yeah.
and do, water and food intake." I can
No,
get
no, no,
that.
no, no.
'Cause I get that way
It's
when I
like
ink.
I want to keep going
Yeah.
and I don't want to stop.
Yeah, I definitely get that
Lately,
way when I like really start to like ink comic pages and stuff and I like get into like a
yeah, you
particular,
get it.
like, oh yeah, I'm doing a really good like Mignola, like blocking in my dark shadows and it
I
looks
have
all
a question for
geometric and
you.
cool.
I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Do you ever get to the point where you've been working on a piece for so long that it's sort of like you stop seeing it for what it is and it becomes these blurry lines and you stop seeing the different parts of it because you're adding these details, and then you have to stop and walk away from it because it's turned into a blur?
Hmm.
Does that happen to you?
No, but I think I know why. And that's because I don't let any project go on that long. Like I
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
understand like how that could happen. Like you get really fixated on certain things or certain aspects of what you're working on, and you're focusing so much on the specific details of a piece that you kind of lose track of the whole and you step away from
Yeah.
it. Like I get that is something that some of my like oil painter friends have like talked about, like how they like enjoy the slower process because they can like step away from it and like get perspective and whatever. um I'd say that dismissively. I shouldn't say that. I apologize. No, but like it is that kind of thing. Whereas for me, and the thing that I love about comics is that I just do it and then move on,
Same.
right?
Yeah. Recently I did did you see the character that I made, Slingshot?
I think I missed that one.
Oh, you missed that? Okay, hang on. So this character I made, I did it in the dark. Oh shit. I'm dropping stuff. I did her in the dark, and I did her in the dark. Oh yeah, baby. Uh and shit, where is she?
I was gonna make a "that's what she said" joke, but you did it for me. But yeah,
Well,
I think
I did a character drawing without any reference, and I had been drinking a little bit that night, and I was completely in the dark. I had, I think, one lamp on, and I drew her and inked her and everything in an hour and a half. And she came out amazing. So cool. And I wish I could, I'll have to find a picture of her. We're not live, right?
No, we're not.
Okay,
This
cool.
is all pre-recorded.
So
we're gonna take a break here too in just a little bit if you like needed to like go
okay,
find
cool.
it and shoot a picture of it or something. But you know, I was just gonna say, like, for me, I don't really get stuck in the weeds on what I do. Uh just, I don't know if I have a better like phrase for it or whatever. But just because like I like to work fast. I like, it's not to say that I don't think about details and things like that. I do think about like the details of a piece like a lot. But
Definitely.
it's more of a I don't know if like this kind of like plays into what you were saying about kind of like losing focus. But for me, it's more about learning how to make the next piece better rather than what I can do to make the current piece better, if that makes any sense. Like, I do it to the best of my ability, and then I'm like, okay, this is as good as I can do now. And then I'll like look back on it
Definitely.
later and be like, what can I do better next time?
Exactly. And that's one thing that because I was an art teacher for over 10 years, that was one thing that I always tell, and one thing that I continue to tell people is never throw away anything that you've done. Don't ball it up. Don't put it in the trash. Put it in a folder. Try again. And then look and see how you've grown from that. Look at your mistakes from the first one, something that you didn't like, and learn from it. And if you sit there and you ball up every single piece that you do that you don't like and throw it in the trash, you're never going to learn from your mistakes because you're just throwing them all in the trash. You can't go back and look. So save everything that you do, even if you don't like it. I have pieces of artwork that I'm like, the fuck was I thinking? And I go back and I'm like, oh yeah, so okay, if I do it like this, maybe it's going to be a little bit better. And I try that, and it's trial and error. It's with anything that you try to learn. You learn from your mistakes, and you progress. If you sit there and throw away the mistakes and the trash and you don't look back with anything that you do, you're never going to grow. I mean, you will eventually, but it's going to take a lot fucking longer, excuse my French. And
Well, because self-reflection is part of learning, especially when you're learning to do a trade or a skill. Like, you need to be able to like look back at like what you have done to know like which way to continue moving forward. So yeah, I've never really thought about it in that kind of respect though. Like, I am not a very sentimental person like at all, and I will get rid of my artwork.
well,
I
I mean, I
have
get that.
very
I get
little amount of like what I did in school, other than like what my parents were like able to save.
same.
Like, at the end of a semester, my go-to like ritual was like, okay, all of this scrap paper, like newsprint, charcoal gesture sketches that we had to do, 20-minute warm-ups in the beginning of every 3-hour class that we would do. All that shit just went into the recycling bin. Like, all of that shit, like, it all just went into the recycling bin for me. And the only stuff that was like saved was like, if at any point during the semester the like professors would be like, all right guys, like the room's getting a little cluttered up, can you gather up your stuff, like tidy it up, like take it to your dorm room or something, so we have places to store our next projects. It's only that stuff that I was like forced to actually take home that got saved, because like my parents would then put it like in a portfolio, and it's like in our attic now. But like, yeah, but now that you say, like, looking back at your older work, it's definitely something that like I have used to inspire other people with like online kind of archives of like the stuff that I've done. I'm not gonna say where it is. If people want to find it, that's on them, because it's something I don't like showing people. But I have one comic, like one full issue, the first part of a two-parter. I didn't
Is
do the
it
second
Chet?
part.
Is it Chet?
No,
Because
it's
I
not
will
that.
die
No,
laughing
no,
again.
it's
And
not that.
it's oh my god.
No, it's
That
like a
was a command.
full. It's like a full 20-page
Oh,
comic that I
oh
did
my
in
god.
college, and it's on my DeviantArt account.
I'm sorry. I thought of him and I can't help myself. You broke me with Chud. Chud.
I was just telling someone about how you broke on that the other day.
Oh my god. There was a command that I had to get X-File to remove. It was command exclamation point forbidden was what it was called. And every time I saw it, I just thought of that fucking
Man, I'm still to this day surprised at that.
kills me. It's a little bit special.
You're not even looking at it right now, and you're.
I'm not. And his face, like chomp, chomp, chomp on the grass. It's like, what, guys? He's like completely oblivious. I'm sorry. I know. Okay. Okay.
It's fine. Hey, you know what? This is about when we are gonna take our mid-show break anyway.
Oh my god.
So everybody, you know what? You can head over to folshamart.com, and under the comics tab, you can find the Ozrin Tales shorts. You can also find it on my Instagram and things. I believe it's somewhere in the 20s. I believe it's like 23, something like that. I'm not sure the exact number. But there's a comic called Chet is a Little Special. It's about a centaur. If you want to read the comic that Jen is losing her shit over right now. Mind you, this is she's not reading it currently, just remembering what she read many months ago. And
they had to remove the command for that because every time I saw it, I just started laughing. Do you remember? It was like 20 minutes. I could not catch my breath for like fucking 20 minutes. Excuse my French. Sorry, cussing.
It's fine. This is not a for kids podcast.
I mean, it's not even that crazy. It's like 3 panels.
Yeah, it's like a 4-panel.
Oh my god!
Hey, it's number 21. Number 21 of the Ozrin Tales shorts. Can
show
me?
Yeah, show me again, because I'll fucking die.
Oh, let me.
I was trying to show you some artwork that you could share, and the thingy, Discord.
Yeah, I'll shoot you the link to this. You know what? I'll put the link in the descriptions and stuff.
There you go.
So that everybody can have like an easier time finding it. But yeah, we're gonna head to a bit of a break here. Everybody can listen to some ads about Anchor and Legendcraft and my Patreon. And then when we come back, we'll talk more about art and everything else that we're interested in. And yeah, we'll see you guys right after the break. Do you want to class up your gaming?
Are you sick of card tables and cheap plastic sleeves for your character sheets? Do you like real wood and are convinced magnets are the only magic we have left in our current age of science? Then head over to legendcraft.ca to spruce up your tabletop gaming setup. They offer felt top gaming tables with add-ons like cup holders, tablet holders, dice trays, roll boxes, and more. Newly released in January 2021 is their Magna Tracker system. With versions for both health and spell tracking, these sleek and stylish tracking boards come with magnetized tracking pips that allow you to slide them back and forth along clean-cut channels, making tracking your health and spell slots easy to use and read, all without the constant erasing and writing on your character sheet. And did I mention that both the Magna Trackers and the tables are customizable and personalizable? That's right, your table and or Magna Tracker will be one of a kind when you order at LegendCraft. LegendCraft is partnering with me to offer you a 5% discount on your orders at legendcraft.ca. That's right, you can get a 5% discount when you enter the code F_ART at checkout. That's F_art. Go to legendcraft.ca. That's legendcraft.ca with discount code F_art for 5% off. Legendcraft.ca. Order today. If you like this podcast and would like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Folsham_art. As little as $1 per month, you not only support Thought Balloons and get to submit questions to be answered by myself and the guest host, but you will also have access to my webcomic 3 to 4 weeks before they're released to the public and my weekly update blog. At higher tiers, you'll gain access to full issues and short story comics, and you can even see progress and add input to projects I'm working on. That's patreon.com/FOULSHAM_ART to support Thought Balloons today.
Welcome back to the Thought Balloons podcast. We are still sitting here talking with JennCreation. Jen, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. This has been fun. We had a whole conversation while you guys did not hear anything.
We did. We'll reiterate some of it. Towards the end, we were picking out the Patreon segment at the end of the show, where you guys can ask us questions. We were just picking out the question, kind of got sidetracked talking about it, but we're back now. Before the break, we were talking about art and creativity and all that kind of stuff. But I know there's a big area in your life that we haven't talked about before, like on the show at least.
Fossils?
And that is fossils. Tell me, like, how did you get interested in fossils? Because this is a thing that, like, as a kid growing up, I was never super interested in fossils. I didn't really I never got into dinosaurs the way like other people did. So like I'm really interested to know,
I'll tell you,
what about
there
it
is a whole story behind this. And sorry for interrupting you because I don't mean to, but I'm really passionate about this. And
go ahead.
There is a whole thing that happened last week that had to do with fossils and everything. But so when I was 4 years old, Jurassic Park came out in theaters. My parents took me to see Jurassic Park, and immediately I fell in love with dinosaurs. My parents bought me all these dinosaur books about dinosaurs, fossils, everything like that. And my grandmother, she said, promise me that you're going to be a doctor when you grow up. And I was like, yes, I'm going to be a paleontologist. And so I never was able to do anything with that until I was in 3rd grade. I was 8 years old. And my best friend at the time said, I wonder if we can find fossils in the sand here on the playground. And of course, 8 years old, you're like, sure, let's do it. I found my first ever shark's tooth. It was a snaggletooth, shark's tooth, solid black in the sand. And this is back when they had sand on playgrounds. And I didn't stop. I have, at this point, I have probably in the tens to 20s of thousands of shark's teeth. I have found an angustidens, a Carcassili's angustidens shark's tooth that I was offered $1,000 for at a construction site. And this brings me back to what happened last week. Last week, I went to pick up my cat's insulin. On the way home, there was a construction site, and I stopped and I pulled over my car and I parked and I went in to the construction site, like right at the gate, and I waved somebody over. And this fella came over and I started talking to him. I had a mask on and everything. And I was telling him about how what they're digging up was the Ashley Formation of fossils, so many different fossils. And I told him that the Mace Brown Natural History Museum would be absolutely fascinated and interested into being able to come out here and look at what fossils they could dig up on days that you guys aren't working. And we would be careful. And he was like, all right, first thing I'm gonna say is no. And then I went on and I started talking to him again. And I was like, there are discoveries here that we could find out. There was a dolphin that was discovered 2 years ago here in Charleston. It's a whale. All dolphins are whales, by the way. And they discovered him here at a construction site, a new species. And I told him that, and he was like, all right, well, come follow me. And he took me back to the trailer. I'm not even kidding. He took me back to the trailer. I talked to John Weiss at the trailer. I got his name and everything. And I told him everything. And he goes, okay, so on Sundays, we're not here on this site. And I'm not going to tell you that you can't come onto the site. But I'm also going to tell you that the fence doesn't go along through the tree line over there. And if say you were to come onto the property and you were to walk along that tree line over there and the camera saw you, I would not be the one to call the police. If you came into the building that we were constructing, the police probably would be called. But if you say on a Sunday when nobody's here and nobody sees you, you guys can come out here. And I was like, you sure? You sure about that? And he was like, I'm not saying nothing. I don't own the property. I am the architect for the property. But I am also the one that views the cameras. Wink, wink, hint, hint. And I am the one that calls the police if anybody goes into the buildings. Because I'm the only one that has access.
So stay out of the active construction site.
So, but they have all these drainage ponds that are on either side. And that is where all those fossils are. So on Sundays, if I park my car over yonder and I walk through the tree line and I go and look, full rain. But nobody knows that. Okay, that's a secret.
Yeah, there's a secret.
But you also can say that and you can put that in your video because nobody knows the location.
Yeah, it's a secret. It's a secret. So nobody listening, don't anybody
so
tell.
And he told me when I was talking to him, he was like, I really appreciate you coming back here and talking to me, because I had some lady that came onto the property and during a Wednesday and just started walking around looking for fossils. And she got mad at me because I told her she couldn't be here on the property doing this. And she got pissed off saying that we were burying everything. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you are burying everything, but there are laws. And on Edisto Island, you have to actually have a permit to be able to go and look for fossils. And that's a permit to ensure that you don't dig, because digging causes unnatural erosion. And the permit's $5. It's $5. You get it from DNR. And so many people get $250 fines from going out to Edisto thinking that they can go and look for fossils, and they start digging and they don't have a permit. $5 for a permit. Come on, man. It's not that hard.
I think a lot of people probably wouldn't even know that you need a permit to like look for fossils, you know?
Well, the problem is Edisto is mostly river. It's all river, so it's all trees, and you have to have either a kayak where you have to dive for them. So you have to either have a diving license to go, because there's gators up in there, lots and lots of gators, or you have to be right on the edge of the river. If you're on the beach, it's fine. You can go walk along the beach and you can pick up little shark's teeth all over the beach. But if you're anywhere in the woods near the Edisto River, you have to have a $5 permit to be able to pick up anything that you see. And you cannot dig. And the whole reason why there is a permit is because so many people were going out there and digging on the tree line and causing unnatural erosion in the river. It was bad for the environment and for the ecosystem.
Speaking of like environments and ecosystems and the construction site stuff, what are your thoughts on like the balance between preserving things from the natural record, like the historical record, versus the constant, like ever burning, like progress that humans have? You know, like we were constantly expanding cities, we're constantly building new stuff, breaking new ground, literally breaking new ground to like make foundations for stuff. And I got to assume that like that's gotta fuck with fossils and shit, right?
It does. It's really tragic, to be honest, because the area that I found a Carolina, it's a Carolina Kelly's Wilsoni prehistoric sea turtle fossil. I found 2 parts of the shell of a massive sea turtle, like a massive sea turtle. And now it's all condos. We will never be able to get any of the rest of the shell again. And
Yeah, it sucks.
if nobody goes out there and goes and checks those places out, I got that area, I got stuck in quicksand.
What?
In that area. Yep. And I was by myself. It was so basically when you see quicksand in a marshy or a coastal area, it looks like solid ground when you see it. And it looked like just smooth ground, and there were no fossils. And I wasn't paying attention. And I have a lot of experience with doing this. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old. And I went to step onto this, it looked like a patch of sand. And I stepped and my whole leg went down into it. And to catch myself, I put my arms out and my arms went flat, and my other leg went into the quicksand. It was like silt, and I was able to catch my foot onto a piece of concretion, which is basically sediment that has solidified, and
Okay.
I was up to my hips in
Oh
the
my God.
quicksand, and I was trying to get myself out. And the best way to do that is to level yourself out.
Hmm.
Hang on, I need water.
That's something
Okay.
I've learned in the scouts. I remember like gotta like either like lean forward or backward, try and like float yourself on top of the quicksand
The
and
problem was
know.
is I had no leverage, because every time I put my hands down, I sunk, and I put my hands flat out in front of me. But that's where I was when I tried to catch myself from falling into it. So eventually I was able to grab onto a root that was in the ground, and it was in the quicksand and everything, and I was pulling myself up. I lost a shoe in that, and I finally got myself out. I was covered in silt and mud, and I because it wasn't as deep as I thought it was, I had gotten right up to my like my boobs, my
Mhm.
rib cage, the top
Yeah.
of my rib cage, and I was covered in mud, and my shoe was still stuck in there. But fortunately, I had one leg that was still able to get out without the shoe. I dug for like 30 minutes trying to get my shoe out, but
The
I got
black
it.
shoe.
I ended up getting it. I
Oh,
had
damn.
purple. Yeah, I got it. I had purple Nikes on, and I was by myself. I didn't have my phone. I had my digging pack, which was a flathead screwdriver, and they had drainage ponds around this construction site, and I was able to rinse off in that. And I had my bicycle, and I was like, okay, I'm going home. I was exhausted getting out
Yeah.
of there, and
I can only
it was
imagine like quicksand is something I've never actually like gone into before. But like having read about it in scouts and like wilderness survival and all that kind of stuff, and then having to do like water survival stuff just like in general. And I can remember like having to jump into a pool like fully clothed, like shirt, jacket, pants,
it
shoes,
sticks to
everything,
everything.
having to like, oh man, I can imagine how difficult, like I know how difficult it was doing it in water. I can only imagine how difficult it is with the added weight of like wet sand and like all that kind of shit. That's fucking
Well, it's
scary.
different from what you've seen in like Indiana Jones, because that quicksand is like air pocket, kind of like a sinkhole kind
Yeah.
of quicksand. This is just straight up mud and silt. And silt is just sediment, super fine sediment. And it causes a suction whenever you get stuck in it.
Yeah, because isn't
And
it's like made because there's like too much groundwater, right? And it like bubbles
mhm.
up, but it's
And
not like
we're in the middle
enough
of a
to like,
swamp.
yeah.
Uh, but however, I did find some insanely awesome fossils in that site. I found the turtle fossils. I found the Angustodon shark's tooth, that big giant one.
You
Here,
found a human skeleton at the bottom of that patch of quicksand.
baby.
It was holding a little Looney Tunes cartoon like sign that says help.
I found, okay, here, I'll share it on Discord. I found this.
I'm gonna have to
Work.
I'm gonna have to track a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about in this podcast and show visual representations of things to people. This is the most visual oriented audio podcast I've done. I love it. So many things, and I might just forget to fucking show people this stuff.
All right, and here is the front of it. So this shark's tooth is the Carcassilis angustidens shark's tooth that I found.
Oh, the one that's like as big as your hand.
Yep. I was offered $1,000 for the shark's tooth, and I found it on the site that I got stuck in quicksand at. I haven't gone searching in a while. I just haven't had time. I've been busy with, stream and work and moving and getting sick, and I never got COVID. I got a stomach bug, and that was a pain in the ass. But I have thousands of shark's teeth, thousands of them, and fossils, and like whale ear bones, and
what's your? It's probably stupid to ask this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What's your favorite? Maybe favorite, most sentimental, like the one that you like the most of the fossils that you have. I'm assuming it's probably the shark's tooth, but like maybe there's a different one that holds more like sentimental value to you.
probably the first one that I ever found, which is a snaggletooth shark's tooth. And I found it on the playground when I was 8 years old, and I still have it. And another one would definitely be the angustidens. I also have a whale vertebrae that is about 8, not quite that big, probably about 6 centimeters, or 2.5 inches wide, that I found. Another one would probably be the first parrotfish mouth plate that I found. Another one would be the first whale tooth that I found. I have a lot. And another one would be a dolphin ear bone that I found.
A dolphin's ear bone?
Oh yeah, they're really common here. In the Ashley Formation and the Collins Creek Formation, dolphin ear bones. They don't really look like much. They look like little rocks with pits in them, and they're kind of weird shaped. They sort of look like a T shape, and the base of the T is fatter than the top part, and it's got these little pits in it. But they're everywhere. Dolphin ear bones. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Man, I guess it makes sense that dolphins have ears. It's just I never really think of.
They're mammals.
Well, yeah, but you just I don't know. And they have like the sonar and like I knew on some level that they had ears, but it just it's one of those things like I never
You don't really think
thought
about it.
right? Like
Exactly.
oh, yeah, like what do people need ears for in the water? I'm like, duh, like fucking sonar and shit.
But they're all fossilized, so they're from prehistoric. All dolphins are whales, by the way. Every single dolphin in the world is a whale. So they're all whale ear bones, but because of their size, they're called dolphins,
But are there so I mean I know this isn't like necessarily fossil related, and I could probably Google this, but porpoises and dolphins are different then? And porpoises are not whales?
I don't know.
Because I
I'd never thought about that.
know the killer whale, like Shamu and all those things. I knew that those were big
orca, yeah.
dolphins.
Yep.
But I didn't know dolphins were whales. But I also am not super into
Like
biology.
bottlenose
so.
dolphins are are whales. Bottlenose dolphins are whales, but I don't know about. Are you talking about manatee? Because I don't think a
No.
manatee is
No,
is
manatee is
considered
a
a
mermaid.
whale. Oh yeah, that's true. It's a cow mermaid.
No,
Because
the
that was, but bottlenose dolphins are whales. But I never really thought about that with manatees and
no, like a porpoise.
porpoise. Yeah, porpoises are bottlenose dolphins.
Interesting. I'm gonna, you know what?
When
I
you said
Googled it.
porpoise, for some reason, my brain automatically thought of manatees,
Mhm.
and I don't know why, but
You're fine.
porpoises should be considered whales. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Google it.
pulled it up on a Google thing. I'm gonna look at that later. Learn more about the differences between whales.
Wait, no, tell me
dolphins,
if
and
I'm right or wrong,
porpoises.
because I'm not a paleontologist. I'm an amateur.
Let's see. Difference between dolphin and porpoise. The biggest difference is size. Porpoises being smaller than dolphins. So yeah, it looks like they're all subtypes of whales.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
So
do
Jen
it
wins. I was right.
quick. Yeah, it looks
I was
like
thinking of when you
baleen
said
whales are like the biggest ones, and then there's toothed whales, of which dolphins and porpoises are.
when you said porpoise, I completely thought of manatee. I don't know why.
That's fine.
I've been awake for too long.
I honestly, when it comes to like fat semi-aquatic mammals, I get walruses, manatees, seals, and sea lions. They're all the same thing to me. Like I don't
get those confused. It's just manatees and porpoises. I think it's because growing up, my mom always referred to manatees as porpoises.
I mean, that'll do it
And
to you.
it confused the hell out of me.
Yeah. Hey, you know, if someone in your life that's like literally teaching you how to be a person is confused about something, you kind of take on their misconceptions of things. It
Exactly.
happens, you know. It happens. But yeah, no, man, that's very
Don't
interesting.
put
Like I
that
said,
in the don't put that in there. Don't put it in there that I screwed that up.
it's too late. It's already in there. It's posted.
Damn it.
It's posted. No, it's fine. You know, like you said earlier in the podcast, you know, or was it before we started? There was something you said about when you make a mistake, just you know, it's a thing and you learn from it. I don't remember. It's been a while. We
Yeah.
talked about a lot of stuff, but I think we said that earlier in the podcast, so it's fine.
Yeah, you make a mistake and you don't throw away the mistakes.
Yeah.
Learn from it.
Exactly.
And that's true.
We're not throwing away
Exactly.
this.
Okay.
We're not editing.
Fair
this.
point. Fair point. Very good. And see, now I'll never forget that I screwed up porpoises and manatees.
And no, maybe it'll be
I'll learn from
way
that.
for
No,
growth.
see, you're right. I will definitely learn from that.
I always say shame and embarrassment is the best way to learn anything. All you parents out there, take the advice from me, a guy who's single without kids. Shame your children to be.
Do not do that. Love your children. God damn it. I finally got my dad to tell me that he did want me. For years, I thought he didn't want me. And we had this emotional talk in January about when I asked him that I honestly thought you never wanted me. And he was like, I always wanted you. I always wanted a son and a daughter, and I got both. And I've always been proud of you. And I was like, really? And we both cried, and it was wonderful.
That's beautiful. I like hearing stories like that. Makes me feel more normal myself. As
Yeah.
someone who was adopted, I have definitely gone through the whole "they didn't want me" kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice that you get to have that conversation with your dad. I'm glad that happened.
Finally, after I was 31 and finally got to hear my dad say he was proud of me. Definitely.
Well, I still have 17 days for that to happen for me. So
Oh my
maybe
God, your birthday is in
32,
2.5 weeks.
maybe 32. Yeah, as we are recording this, it is April 2nd, and my birthday is the 19th. So yeah,
What do you want for your birthday?
32. What do I want for my birthday?
Besides being
Jesus.
told that I'm proud of you, son. Obviously.
I am currently putting together a list of computer parts, and by currently putting together a list, I mean I need to put together a list of computer parts to build a new art and stream setup. But
Mhm.
I don't know. Other than that, the older I get, the less tangible my wish list becomes,
Same.
which is
I just want people to tell me happy birthday at this
yeah.
point. Buy
Well,
me a stuffed animal or a tube of paint. I don't care. Just tell me you love me.
yeah,
love you.
just the older I get, the less like I want like well, it's not that I want less tangible things necessarily. I do, but also the tangible things that I want are like really expensive. And I can't like justify the purchase of them even as gifts. Cause like for example, like, oh, I would love to have like a Nintendo Switch, right? But
Mhm.
I'm only ever gonna play Pokemon and Zelda games on it. I don't like anything else that Nintendo
You
puts
can
out.
get Skyrim.
Don't care about Skyrim. I played it on my PC.
Oh man.
I've played it. Don't need to play it again. Definitely don't need to play it on a Switch. Like,
Fair.
but it's like,
I've never
yeah,
played Skyrim on anything but my Switch, and I got it as soon as it was released because I got my Switch. I think it was 3 months after it was released for my
Mhm.
birthday, and my mom had a video of me opening my birthday present back
nice.
in 2017.
But yeah, that's like
And
one of those things though. Is it's just like, man, it's so expensive for a Switch, and I'm only ever gonna play Pokemon and Zelda games on it. Is it really worth the money? And then it's like
Breath of the
guilt.
Wild is worth it. Yes. I would say I put over 1,600 hours into Breath of the Wild. It is worth
Jesus.
it.
So yeah,
Yes.
it's things like that that I want now, right? Is like either things that I need for like my business, which is, constantly upgrading my computer, or it's just really expensive niche things that I don't think I'll use all that often, so I feel bad asking for it. So yeah,
Same.
mostly these days I'm just like, I'll save up and buy the things that I want to like spend frivolously on. Everybody else can just donate money to a charity in my name, or
Oh, shut up. Stop being so bold.
like for
And
the
stop being
honestly,
so
like
humble.
honestly, for the last 3 years, I've told my family to donate toys to the Mark the Shark toy drive for kids. Because there's like, I don't need anything for Christmas. And just tell them to like
Yeah, I
donate
haven't
toys to
gotten
the local
anything
toy
for
drive.
Christmas either, but at the same time, don't discredit yourself. Don't say you don't need anything because you're human too. You are still a person.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I feel like at 32, if I want a Nintendo Switch, I should just save up and buy it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what X File said. But we came together as a community and we got it for him for his birthday last year back in September. So don't hold your breath.
I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. No, if anybody And this is because this podcast is going to go out next Friday on the 9th. So if anybody does hear this before my birthday and wants to get me anything, I do have a donation link under my streams. You can donate. I'm currently saving up probably for a new mic. This was listed at currently as a new mic. If that changes, obviously I'll change things for the dono. But I'm looking just to upgrade PC
What
stuff.
mic do you have now?
Currently I'm using the MXL 990. I believe it is by Shure. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it's the MXL 990. I have the blackout version of it right now. I had the original champagne colored version of it that I got in like 2005, 2006. I was in a band. I switched over to a compressor or condenser mic. Condenser, not compressor. Switched over to a condenser microphone when we recorded our EP. And then I just had it sitting around and it was like a good, mid-level mic
I
for
need to upgrade
vocals
my
and
mic
stuff.
now because my microphone was like $45.
MXL 990 is really good. Like the only reason I
$85.
even replaced it is because the one I had from 2005 2006 started crackling. It lasted 15 years. It just
Wow.
happened to started crackling because of like wire degradation and stuff in it after a decade and a half.
You know what I started using when I first started streaming? And okay, let me back up. My first stream ever, live stream that I ever did was back in 2015. And I was a featured artist on the Artist Lounge podcast,
Ooh.
which you can still watch on YouTube. Hang
Go
on.
see young Jen. Go see Avril Lavigne talking about artwork.
Thanks. I had somebody last streams. Anybody ever ask you if you look like Avril Lavigne?
Man,
I swear I get that
I miss that.
at least once a month. Somebody asks me if I've ever been told that I look like Avril Lavigne. But here is the Artist Lounge podcast, my first ever stream. So my first stream on Twitch was done with the webcam that I used during this stream, which I bought that webcam. It was 1 week before I moved to Thailand. And I never used it again until I tried streaming on Twitch.
Cool.
And I used that 4-year-old webcam, and I used a 10-year-old laptop, and I had a sketchbook and a folding table. That's all I had. Now I have everything that I have now is the $1,800 PC that I built. I have lighting. I have a microphone. I have 4 cameras. I have a bunch of stuff. Drafting table.
Yeah, for me, I'm mostly concerned about upgrading my RAM on this computer.
Your RAM?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Well, see, the thing is, Adobe likes to process everything through memory. It doesn't use graphics cards, at least as far as I'm aware. Unless there's like settings and shit that I have to like mess with. But it seems like all of my processing power for Photoshop and Premiere and stuff is coming from my memory, from my RAM. I have like 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM right now, and I'm looking to upgrade to DDR5 and get a lot more RAM and all that stuff.
That's
Rendering
not bad.
videos takes a lot of power. Like,
yeah, I have a 2-channel 8 gig equaling 16 gigs of RAM. So the 2-channel is good because if one fails, the other one can compensate. So 2-channel, good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, If anybody wants to spend money on me for my birthday, you could just go to my Twitch page and donate. But instead of talking about technical stuff and talking about my birthday this whole time, I think we should head over to our last segment of the podcast here. And that is where we go to the Discord channel in my Patreon exclusive area on my Discord server called Thought Balloons Questions. That's right. If you naughty listeners skipped over the ads, real quick, patreon.com/Folsham_art. For as little as $1 a month, you get a whole bunch of rewards and everything for the Patreon stuff. But if you are a member, amongst those rewards, you can ask us questions that we will answer here on the show. This week's question, chosen by Jen before we started the second segment here. This week's question comes from Patreon supporter Eli. What is your favorite bridge? I know I have a fairly specific answer to this, but we'll let you go first. Jen, what is your favorite bridge?
Okay, okay. It's more of a viaduct, and it doesn't have a name, but it is a viaduct that growing up I walked along several times, and it's a railroad track viaduct over the Ashley River. And I also have what do you say? Taken a canoe and a kayak underneath it, and I have touched the bottom of it. But it's a railroad track, and there's a photo of it that I sent Folsham via Google Maps. But on top of that, there's also the Cooper River Bridge, which no longer exists. It's now the Arthur Ravenel Bridge. But the Cooper River Bridge was probably my favorite because it was this big wrought iron bridge that was 2 lanes of just mayhem going down it. And there was no divide in the middle of it. It was just the cars were sandwiched together, and you had to hold your breath as you went down. And in high school, senior year of high school, it was the last week that it was going to be there, and we went down it in my best friend's Amigo. And that was the last time that bridge existed because they ended up demolishing it and turning it into a reef for the local ecosystem. Cooper River Bridge. And it's gone. And it's gone.
And it's gone. I Googled Cooper River Bridge just to see what it looks like now.
Yeah, it's the Arthur Ravenel Bridge. And it's a suspension bridge, and it's like 85 lanes, massive.
Yeah. So this is actually really close. To aesthetically, this is very close to what my favorite looking bridges look like.
Stop doing the upspeak thing. I don't like that.
Sorry.
This is actually really close to what my favorite bridges look like. Stop doing it.
I do that when I'm trying to formulate the sentence in my brain when I'm also
formulate the sentence first and then speak.
My brain doesn't know how to do that. Come on.
Do it a word ahead of time.
So yeah, aesthetically, my favorite bridges are suspension bridges where the suspension is in the middle and there's like no cables or anything on the outside of the bridge. I just think they look really cool. They give me so much anxiety to drive over, though. I also just don't like driving across bridges, but that's a fear of water, and I'm convinced every bridge is going to collapse under the weight of my car specifically.
Or the Kraken is just gonna have his tentacles come up and just wrap it around
Just
the entire
anything.
bridge and bring it down underwater. Yeah, I
I'm
understand that.
convinced. But the idea of having just like nothing on the side at all, like not even a cable to like maybe bounce off of, just frightens the hell out of me. But
What
I really
freaked me
like
out-
the way those middle suspension bridges look.
What freaked me out about the Cooper River Bridge is the fact that there was no median, and there were two of them. So
Were there at
one
least
went one way, and the other went the other way. So you went to Mount Pleasant to 526 with that bridge, and our cars were so close together and going, and it was scary. Perilous is the word.
No, it sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, I've driven on like really small bridges like that before.
And you
My
can hear
favorite-
everything.
Oh yeah,
Because
especially like
it was
metal
iron.
bridges.
It was all the iron that was on those bridges. You could hear the every car that came onto that bridge that was behind you. You heard it like a noise, and it was like, "Are we gonna go into the water? I don't know what's happening." It's scary.
So yeah, for me, suspension bridges in general, I like the look of, but my favorite bridge, like yours, is a local bridge to where I live. I don't know if it actually goes over water or not. I'll have to look the next time I go to see a movie in like a big theater. Because that's honestly the only time I ever go over this bridge.
You were saying viaduct earlier, and a viaduct doesn't have to go over water.
Right. Yeah. I think it may be. I just can't remember. Yeah, it's really hard to kind of like get a good look out of your window, like your passenger window or your driver's side window when you're driving. You know? Kind of
I
like
understand.
kind of like to keep your eyes on the road. But no, for me, I like this bridge. It's nothing special. You know, it's not a suspension bridge or it got those like giant metal like, you know, girders on it or anything. It's just flat concrete bridge. Except
Mhm.
it's not completely flat, which is why I like it, because as you're driving along at 60, 65 miles an hour, you get a
Jesus.
little ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk in the bridge, like as like the pavement's a
segments.
little uneven.
Yeah, because
And
it's the segments of the
yeah.
bridge. You can hear it.
But there's also like a physical, like every time you go over one of those cracks, and it's like
Oh,
there's other
that's not a
bridges in
viaduct.
my area too. Like there's other bridges in my area too that are like the same kind of construction that don't have the same feel. But like you actually can
Mhm.
you bounce a little bit as you go over these like little, and I don't even know, like I haven't ever like looked at the road to know why it does what it does. But it reminds me of just driving around in my dad's boat when I was like a kid, when he had a
Mhm.
speedboat. When you get up to speed on a speedboat, you'll start skipping across the surface of the water. So it's like
Yep.
skip, 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 ka-chunk, ka-chunk, right? So that's why I
Mhm.
like that particular bridge. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's literally like you're driving through farmland and forest and stuff, going from where I live in Lock Haven, PA, out to it's somewhere between Lock Haven and Williamsport. I want to say that it's actually between Lock Haven and McElhatton, which nobody's going to know those two particular names, but if you Google it or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just there and it's fun to drive over because you get those little bumps and it
I know
reminds
that
me of a kid
sensation.
hanging out with my dad. And yeah, it's nothing special. Like,
No, that is. It really is special because it brings back a memory for you. And that's the same thing for me when I was saying, and a viaduct is going to be something that's really small. You're not going to have that ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk with a viaduct. A viaduct is like one ka-chunk. But I know exactly what you're talking about. That sound and the sensation of the boat going over the waves. Used to do that all the time, going out to the jetties with my dad, going
Yeah.
fishing. And I know that exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's like what's a physical feedback or
Nostalgia.
tactical feedback kind of thing.
You're thinking of, it's the nostalgic feeling that you're getting.
Yeah, that too. That too. It's also just fun, it's like a little mini roller coaster.
Yeah, I
Um,
know, right?
yeah.
The 7 Mile Bridge, and when you're going down the Florida Keys, the 7 Mile
Hmm.
Bridge is like that. And you get when you go over it at night,
Oh God.
and
It's so scary.
they have, well, over the 7 Mile Bridge at night, the lights, it's like a kind of noise, like you can hear the sound of the light. You know what I'm talking about? When you're going past lights at night,
Oh yeah.
you can hear the sound of the light as it goes past, and it's really the lampposts that you're hearing along the side of the car because you're going so fast. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's a really great memory for me too.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on this podcast, Jen. It's been a long time coming. Like I said at the beginning, you're one of the first friends that I made here on Twitch and all that here. We're not doing this on Twitch, but you're one of my first like post art school friends that I've made and have brought into my sort of inner community of artists that I like to hang out with when I get a chance to like visit people on stream and all that stuff. So I'm very, very happy that we finally got to get you onto the podcast. Obviously, send me the links and stuff. I'll put them in the description of the podcast and on the YouTube video. But if you want to take the last 30, 40 seconds here to a minute, let everybody know what you do, where they can find you, where they can support you. That would be great.
Hi, I'm Jen. I like to talk a lot, and sometimes I interrupt people, and I don't mean to, and I try to make sure that I don't interrupt too much, and I'm sorry I interrupted a bunch, and I'm Jen. And yeah, JennCreation on Twitch. There you go. Okay, bye.
Twitch.tv/JennCreation. You go by
All right.
JennCreation everywhere else too, right?
Well, yeah, sure. But I wanted to be here because I wanted to hang out and talk to you. I don't care about all that shit.
I mean, that's fair. It's just I'm glad that you came
appreciate
here
it.
to talk to
I
me,
do.
and it's a way to kind of say thank you to the people who do take their time out of the day to talk,
Well,
for a couple of
I would have
hours.
talked to you anyways, even if you didn't want to do like a whole podcast thing. So anytime you want to talk about anything, just let me know.
Hell yeah.
I'll be here.
Sounds fun. We should, you know what? We need to play some Among Us again at some point.
Yes, we do. Oh God, I played some with Kayla the other day, and it was so much fun.
It is a very fun game. So yeah, we'll put that on the schedule. As for everybody out there in podcast land, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Thought Balloons. You know where you can find me, Linktree/Bolshamart, all that good stuff. But yeah.
And I'm Jan. Hi, y'all. I'm Jan.
JennCreation.
Oh yeah, creation.
Thank you so much.
With two N's. Jen with two N's.
Jen with two N's. JennCreation.
One's naughty. One's naughty.
Ns
one's
total.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us, listening to this podcast this week. And Jen, thank you specifically for making this all possible. This episode in particular. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you guys next week.